Welcome to the last Ironman episode, pretty much forever, unless I decide to return to this account for maybe a year in the future. This is mainly because competitive group Ironman mode, which we knew will be released in late autumn of this year, all the way back into March, in which case I was like, you know what? This would be the perfect way to reintroduce the Ironman series and to relearn the necromancy skill, even though, yes, I was max cape previously before the skill, so some items I did pretty much not have to grind, like Krill Susurov, for the subjugation. And then, luckily, this did not take me too long to do in a sense, because my membership ended perfectly for group Ironman mode, which I will be making a series on. Although, right here, I was not expecting to get the construction pad mid-recording, so that was a pretty nice awkward surprise. And then for group Ironman mode, I am planning to probably make 2 months max, and then 6 months I might have like best in slot, since we are able to utilize other players. And for me personally, I dislike doing clue scrolls mainly because I am not a Windows user, which does have access to the Alt 1 plugin, which is pretty much an outsourced program, which is like a third-party program that is not allowed, but it's safe for players in a sense because it's not breaking the rules. With that, I decided to end off the Ironman series with getting a lot of final upgrades just before the new content was released. All of the Fort Foundry quests are very simple, but the most biggest time locked stuff would have to be building the upgrades. And that's because you need to convert all your logs into frames, and then you need to upgrade the buildings using those specific frames, in which case the buildings do take about 12 minutes each, and you're able to upgrade them from tier 1, tier 2, and up to tier 3. Once you have actually completed the new foundations quest, which is the very first one, you will need to go west and then click on the little workbench. Make sure you're on the miscellaneous tab and then build the lodestone. This took me probably about 10-15 minutes because I tried speaking to Bill. When I did do the miscellaneous, it says I was unable to, so I had to speak to Bill, which did take me a painfully long time. In which case, if you go south, the lodestone is right here, which does take about 6 minutes to build, but once you have finally built it, it will be automatically unlocked. Afterwards, you will have to do a lot of quests, and that does include pretty much like murder of the border, in which case we do get a little nice backstory introduction to our own castle, the guest and stuff who we are inviting. Throughout this whole quest line, we learn a lot of lore and backstory behind Raptor and who they actually are, along with getting the ability to get them as a Slayer Master. Now, through the Ancient Awakening quest, there is one little boss fight that can be quite hard, and you are able to do this, but remember to bring pretty much necromancy, and this is mainly because the Conjure Ghost healing passively is amazing, so you're able to use less food, and of course augment your gear, and to use a Salve Amulet E. Although I had no problems doing this in tier 90 weapons and level 80 armor, which was non-augmented, and then pretty much you're able to soul split the whole thing until pretty much about the last 2 waves, in which case you will be getting those Chaos Giants that do a lot of damage while they are using melee. So do pray melee. Afterwards, we get a fantastic cutscene of Zermagal reviving Vorkath. Yep, that's right. Vorkath has entered RuneScape 3. Previously, this was only on old school, which he has an amazing boss fight. Sadly for RuneScape 3, the boss fight isn't really too difficult, but you need to remember to have anti-fire. You don't even need super anti-fire. And then you have a choice. Either pray magic and or devotion, and you can also pray necromancy, mainly because of Zermagal. And then this boss fight has a lot of bugs and glitches, but the most dangerous thing you want to keep an eye on is when the dragon flies away, you will get a little special action bar button, in which case you will need to click that to knock Vorkath out of the sky, like right now, for example. Otherwise, he will deal a massive magic attack, which you are able to devotion or just hit the extra action bar button and then pretty much DPS away. As for Zermagal, you will need to pay attention from once you have defeated Vorkath, he will fly away. For here, swap to Necromancy and we'll be attacking him, and remember to use Devotion. This will complete the quest, which isn't really too difficult. Just remember, you need to have that super anti-fire. That's the most important thing. As you can tell, I barely used any food. And then it was time to do Requiem for a Dragon. After the quest, players are able to make their way to the Ungal ritual site. When they do interact with it, you'll get a little hologram to the east, in which case you'll be like, okay, now do rituals. In which case, remember to wear your Zogas ring and to do the lowest level ritual because they take the quickest amount of time to do, and every ritual does have a chance. However, you will be guaranteed to get the upgrade at 100 rituals if you do have bad RNG. Once you have gotten the ring, you are able to speak to the NPC to the east, in which case I personally got it after the 25th ritual, so that was actually pretty lucky. Perhaps the most important thing I forgot was building the cabin, which gains access to earning in candle pickaxe pieces while you are woodcutting. I should have done this before, but instead I got all of my woodcutting done, and then I unlocked the cabin. Then it was time for a herb run, and I will say getting herbs are quick, but getting the seeds is the biggest problem, and that's because herb runs are an hour and 30 minutes. However, if you do unlock the speedy growth, you'll be doing herb runs every single hour, which is even more worse because I need more seeds. Then I was like, you know what? It's about time I finished off her mod. I got all of the plates and fully upgraded my armor from tier 80 to tier 90. I had to do a bit of rune crafting, which was not too bad since I mined a ton of pure essence. Then there was one more component before heading off to Zuck, and that was going to Head's Oasis and collecting the golden roses, which are used to make the penance of prayer powder, which pretty much every time you take damage, it will restore your prayer ever so slightly at a time. So it's like a super prairie but a little bit better, and I'm able to use like a DPS aura in a sense. That way I was able to use as less super restores as possible. And again, my armor is not augmented. It's tier 90 Death Dealer, which means when monsters are low enough, it does have the chance to instantly KO them. And since the Zuck waves have a lot of monsters, I'm relying on that perk. As for the aura, I will be rocking the Equilibrium aura, as this increases your base damage by 12%. In my opinion, this is the most broken aura ever because it's essentially just like Invention in a sense with the Biting perk, which increases your critical strike by 2% per rank, but the Equilibrium aura does not require any invention and you automatically get 12% damage, so that was wonderful. For the first challenge, which will be the end of wave 4, you want to use Threads of Fate, Volley of Souls, and then pretty much basics to get rid of the other two monsters. This is the easiest way to clearing this, and there will be another wave challenge, and that will be after wave 9. So once you DPS and phase Zuck, you want to pray melee, and this I actually messed up. You will want to prioritize your highest damage abilities, and for Necromancy, that will be Finger of Death and your Necromancy weapon special attack. Volley of Souls will not be able to damage this monster. You have to use 3 Fingers of Death and then the monster will die. Afterwards, you will be completing that challenge. For the very final challenge, after you have completed wave 14, there is a very tricky one, and while you're DPSing Zuck to get to the DPS point, you will need to have 100% adrenaline, and there's two options. One, you can resonance the very first hit, wait until the second attack almost hits you, and then use barricade. Or if you do have, you are able to use the tier 90 rot shield and simply use barricade. That will last long enough for all of the attacks to do 0 damage, which does allow you gaining access to completing that challenge. Afterwards, you have the 3 Jads. This is by far the easiest. If you simply go south and do not go any more north where I am at, which you are able to tell by using the little rock. If you're any more north, both of the Jads will be able to attack you. So you pretty much want to forecast them and get them stuck and start focusing on one at a time. And then once you have the last one, it's pretty much the easiest. The most important thing would have to probably be the prayer and like stepping in the wrong tile. So make sure if you are low on health, you are actually able to use resonance to get the free heals. After this wave, it'll be Hurricane. Pretty much just a DPS dummy. There's nothing really too much to watch out for, except by the boss's head right here. There'll be a little eruption pool. You want to move away from that, from your current tile, at least one tile. Otherwise, it will reduce your adrenaline by about 50%, and you'll be getting massively reduced damage. I mean, adrenaline. I believe you get like 10% adrenaline, normally what you would get of 8 adrenaline per basic attack. In which case, you want to DPS this guy a lot. But right here, I kind of purposely did not use any of my EOF specs or the tier 90 special, and that is simply because I wanted to, you know what, let's actually prolong it a little bit so I'm able to showcase this mechanic right here, that when Hurricane says he sends a bomb towards you, you simply want to move pretty much in any of the north, south, east, or west direction about 3 tiles, in which case where the player currently was would be an X attack, and if you're diagonal, you'll be taking a lot of damage, potentially kissing the floor for you. And then in this time, you are able to attack Zuck, use Soul Split. Even though the boss is immune, it will count for your damage attack since the boss can't be damaged, but your attacks do go through, meaning you are able to regain health from using Soul Split, which is extremely good. As you can tell, I've hardly used any food at all, but most of the food will be needed for Zuck. Once you have finished off Hurricane, you have probably about 10-15 seconds that you're able to use all your debuffs, vulnerability bombs on Zuck. And for this fight, you will want to pray melee. This guy will be the hardest, and that is simply because you want to pray melee. Right off the bat, once you use his special attack, you want to freedom. If you do not freedom, pretty much you're going to have a food in mouth the whole time until you're able to use freedom. Afterwards, he will say like sear or something. This will be a bleed type of thing that the player will need to go away from him and then run back to him. This is because he will reduce your damage when you're up close and personal, but by going away from him, it does cancel it, although he will probably attack you 2-3 times, and you can expect for a magic hit to happen while you are running away from him, since he can forecast you. So do remember that. And then just pretty much for the eruptions, while you're attacking the boss, simply lose surge and you should be fine. When he drags you in the middle, for like the pizza phase, you want to go to the opposite direction, pretty much at 3, 6, and 9 clockwise rotation. It goes clockwise the same time, so you know where the next menu will always be at. This is the quickest and easiest way to deal with the pizza phase mechanic. And then remember, For the first minion, you need to stun him. For the second one, you're able to use a threshold, which the blow ability will work perfectly. For the very final one, you'll need to get up close personal until the shield is destroyed, and then you'll be able to damage the monster. Once this is all done, Zuck will be charging his instant kill mechanic, so you really need to DPS all 3 minions, and then click on the special action bar button. Afterwards, it's pretty much repeat, so go ham on him, pray melee, soul split if you need to, and then right here, use freedom. You should be fine. And then he'll be doing his special attack again, in which case you want to surge or blade dive away from him, run back to the boss, and right here, since I was pretty much away from him, he does use a magic attack. And then while you are running away and running back to him, you will want to drink a super restore, as he will slowly passively lower your maximum health. And then right here, the eruption did get me, in which case I had to food him out the whole thing, because his next special attack would be the bleed, in which case you have to freedom. So that is what used a lot of food. I mean, there's no way around it. And then you could barricade, that completely blocks it, and then just get rid of some mechanics. Although some parts are pretty difficult, but as long as you do things correctly, you should be fine. If you do mess up and tank that bleed, you'll be doing a lot of food and mouth. Once you have successfully completed the boss without banking at all throughout the whole fight, you'll be gaining access to the igneous stone, which is used to upgrade the kiln capes, increasing their ultimate damage, and you do get a nice passive. So the first time is the hardest, and then you want to make the kiln cape for the necromancy, which halves the adrenaline for the death scrolls, and the death scrolls ability does do 2 additional hits. However, I was like, you know what, I'll be able to do this without the cape. And you want to do this a total of 4 times, which is mainly so you're able to get 1 of each kiln cape. Although range is my worst style, since I pretty much have absolutely nothing, I was like, you know what, might as well just get the 4 stones. Now, to use these 4 stones, it's very simple. You want to click on the stone and craft whatever kiln cape you do have in your inventory, and you'll be getting the best in slot capes. If you do hard mode, you'll be able to combine all 4 capes into 1 cape. Now that group competitive Ironman mode is within 2 weeks away, I will be ending off the Ironman series, as this was very beneficial and I learned a good amount of necromancy tips and tricks along the way. And if you are interested, I will be making a series on that game mode. So make sure to subscribe, and you can probably expect to get about 2 episodes a week. I could probably try and do 3, depending on maybe the first 2 weeks of the mode, and that's because you're able to progress massively quick through the early game, just because pretty much you'll be doing a lot of questing and some daily scape, since that's pretty much the most beneficial way of training the account. But with that, thank you all so much for watching this Ironman series, and enjoy the rest of your day.